Hello and welcome to Slottsskogen, one of the biggest and most popular green areas in Gothenburg. Popular for we come here for so many reasons. We come here if we want to climb a tree, we come here if we want to go for a run on our own, we come here if we want to say hi to the animals in the zoo, we come here if we want to meet our friends for a barbecue. Yet with all of this, how much do we really know about the history of Slottsskogen? Not so much. If, like us, you'd like to learn more about it, please join us today. So, Slottsskogen, it is huge and beautiful, but also very old. Centuries of history are hidden in these paths and in these trees. And I am not exaggerating when I say centuries. Slottsskogen was already known as a recreational area as far back as in 1624, so almost 400 years ago. You might ask yourself, why is the park called Slottsskogen? In Swedish it means forest of the castle, but there is no castle, and that is true. Today there is no castle on the territory of the park. However, in the medieval times, this green area belonged to Älvsborg's castle, which now stands in ruin about 30 minutes walk from here. In those times, Slottsskogen was twice the size of today. It went all the way to the Älvsborgs castle, to Rådhasten. It included Majorna, Masthuget. It also included Änggården in the south. You might ask yourself, what was the area like in those times? Was it arranged in the same way? Who were the people who were visiting it? So many questions, but where to find the answers? Oh, Niels, nice seeing you here. What are you doing here?
Hello. Well, I'm just taking some photos up in the oak trees. Sure. Wow, fine tree this is. Now, the city was founded in 1621 by Gustav II Adolf, right? And actually only 3 years later in 1624, while he was visiting the city, he opened up this forest and made it accessible to the larger public. He would have said something along the lines of, let the town dwellers, their wives and children join the forest, so long as they don't cut down the trees or hunt the animals or do any other incivilities. But it wasn't really all people that got access to it. It was really the middle classes that now suddenly had access to the forest as well. But already in 1776 there's a royal proclamation, and we can see then that even more people now have access. The royal proclamation, it mentions journeymen, seamen, farmhands, errand boys, maids, innkeepers and peddlers and others of similar character. However, they had limited access. They were only allowed to walk the roads in the forest and not actually to roam freely. Now, as we enter the 1800s, the forest has really become a summer idyll for people living around it. Now, they would not have been part of the wealthy classes. They would have lived in cramped conditions. They wouldn't have been able to afford a summer house, but they could come to this forest. They treated it as a sort of Sunday garden where they could dress up and meet with their peers. There was a dark side, however. It was not all sunshine. There were some shady people here as well, and it was also known for fighting. Seamen and soldiers coming here would engage in shady and fighty behavior. It actually earned the nickname Slottsskogen. Now, Sloss is fighting, so the fighting forest. Slotts, castle, Sloss, fighting, very similar in Swedish, so the nickname makes sense, I suppose. still, for a century and a half, Slottsskogen was very much an attractive highlight for the Gothenburgers. Then as we enter into the latter half of the 1900s, what we start to have is private properties surrounding the forest and encroaching on its area, so the forest is growing smaller and also its reputation is falling rapidly. It hits rock bottom. It is now considered a rather dangerous place. We have drunks, we have burglars, we have thieves here. It's not a safe place to be in, and it's not a safe place to live close to.
But here we are in 2021. Slottsskogen is a perfectly fine place. There are children running around, playing. This playground is so colorful and safe. You're telling terrible things, Niels. When did the change happen?
Well, it actually started in 1864. Now, at that time, the county governor was Albert Ehrensvärd, who we actually met in a previous episode talking about the bridges. Now, he sent a request to the government. Basically, he was saying that, look, we have a city here with 50,000 people living in it, and we need a space for the not so wealthy people, basically, where they can relax and refresh themselves, and that place can't be the local pub.
Isn't it funny? He thought that 50,000 people was a lot and that they needed a big green area to meet and relax. How about today? The city has 10 times more inhabitants, and that's just in the inner city, without counting the suburbs. So 500,000 souls who need a green area inside the city to meet somewhere.
I know, right? It's just an insane difference comparing back then to now. But 50,000 was, of course, a lot back then. Now, the result of the request was that the forest was indeed transferred to the city, and you think with that done, basically Bob would be your uncle. But it turns out Bob is not your uncle at all, because for the next 6 years, absolutely nothing happened, except I suppose people forgetting all about the plans to create such a space for the people. Now, at the end of those 6 years, a man named J.N. Söderling, who was an organ builder and also humanitarian, he started campaigning for the project to finally come to fruition. And he campaigned for 4 years before managing to secure a budget and a space for the park to be created.
It was great. They had the place, they had some money. What they lacked was a vision. What should Slottsskogen look like? What should be the main idea of this new park of a new age? There were many different conflicting ideas. It was very hard to reach a decision. One of the strongest opinions, the loudest voices, was that Slottsskogen should become a replica or even a competitor to the Tivoli Gardens in Copenhagen. It should be an amusement park with many fantastic rides which would bring the fame of Slottsskogen way beyond Gothenburg. And that was very close to happening. But as you can see, there are no amusement rides in Slottsskogen today, and there have never been, because the Tivoli people have lost the argument. The argument was won by a person called Siegfried Wieselgren. He argued that Slottsskogen should be a place where nature reigns. He thought that the man-made places dedicated to sports or arts or some activities should be very discreet, and that in the park people should be able to find a moment of relaxation among beautiful virgin nature. He managed to convince the locals that this was the way to go. What the city needed at that point was a person to drive this vision. It was a very ambitious project, and a very strong personality was needed to make it happen.
Now, the man known as the creator of Slottsskogen, that's a man named August Cobb. And who was this August Cobb then? Well, he came from a quite successful merchant family. He was quite driven, very enthusiastic, and he became a key political person in the city at that time. He was put in charge of creating Slottsskogen, and in 1874 Slottsskogen finally became a real park. Now, he was responsible not only for Slottsskogen but for several other green areas in Gothenburg as well. But Slottsskogen is perhaps his crowning achievement. Now, he wanted the park to retain its natural feel and the wilderness, but he also took inspiration from English parks such as Hyde Park in London, but also Skansen in Stockholm. So the architectural design as well was supposed to be national romantic. And you can find here ponds, flower beds, there would be a small zoo, as we've mentioned earlier, and also asymmetrical arrangements was something that he was working with. And as we come here into the very heart of Slottsskogen, it's perhaps then not strange that in this stone we would have a face of the creator himself, August Cobb. Now, he continued to work with Slottsskogen to make it a better place and to modernize it until his death in 1901.
Now, can you imagine that some of the trees that are still around in Slottsskogen today have been here for 300 years?
It's insane. And just imagine what they would have witnessed in all of that time.
Exactly, in 300 years, maybe they wouldn't have seen the medieval times, but still they saw a lot. They saw the park when it was only open for the privileged people. They saw it when it was open to the poor people living nearby. They saw its transition to the modern and safe place we know today.
Indeed. And I mean, for all that has happened and all that we've seen today, can we be sure that we've seen everything it has to offer today?
Absolutely not. I think most of us only know the main spots in Slottsskogen where we come back all the time. But there are a lot of hidden gems and places with very interesting history that we don't even suspect. And I'm sure they are worth a visit.